If you've been following along with my dead plum tree dilemma, where I'm not sure whether I should take out the old dead plum tree and replace it with a new tree, or add a climber to it and keep it, well, I've come to a decision and I've got some post that I'll be planting today, so all will be revealed in this episode. And if you're not sure what I'm referring to, I'm talking about this dead plum tree, and it's been dead since about 2019. And it went well. When I first got my allotment, it wasn't looking very healthy, and I think the previous owner cut it back really hard at a time of year when they shouldn't, and it has always suffered since I've had it. And yeah, unfortunately it did pass away, but I've kept it because it creates this fantastic sort of structure and Gothic shape around and arches over the shed, so it creates a bit of interest. And I've been keeping some bird feeders on it, but I was kind of unsure whether, it was time to do something fresh and new. Maybe it's time to replace it, or do I add a climber to it? I did actually take it to the polls, and on the Instagram community, I think it was 36% of you that said add a climber. So a whopping great big 64 said replace the tree. Well, let's talk a little bit about what I'm going to do here and why I've chosen to do so. Actually, but first, I want to show you some of my spring bulbs that are looking absolutely amazing and catching my eye right now. I'm sorry, but how freaking gorgeous are these? What a combination, that yellow and blue. And we've also got some of my parrot tulips just starting to come up now as well. Oh, spring is definitely here. They are so gorgeous. Just had to share that. So this tree was in fact a Victoria plum tree, which is a very popular variety, particularly here in the UK. But yeah, it suffered. So I have made a decision, and that decision is it's going to stay because, number one, somebody commented on the video in my March tour saying how they loved the sort of whimsical effect and that it was a key part of my allotment, and I do agree with that person. And it does add value because the birds love to perch on it, the bugs and the insects, they're probably all tucked under this dead bark, and dead wood does provide benefit to the wildlife, and it's here to stay, which means I'm going to grow a climber up it. And the reason I didn't want to plant a new tree was because it's going to take a lot of work, and we're approaching, the middle of spring, which would mean I'd have to cut back this tree and take out as much of the root and the stump underneath, which is where I've got all these gorgeous perennials. And it's part of my commemorative border to my grandmother. I planted this up as a little gesture to her after she died a couple of years ago. So it would take a lot of work, and also if I then put in another tree, eventually that's going to create shade underneath, and this is a key sort of planting area because the sun goes that way, so this area gets sun all day long, and I don't want to then plunge it all into shade by planting a tree here. Also, I've already got an apple tree and a cherry tree, and as great as your own homegrown fruit is, having a tree, not only does it come with maintenance of the pruning, it comes with gluts, and I'm not very good at dealing with big gluts from trees. So the apples, I don't ever get through all of them. Some of it goes to waste, and the cherries, well, to be honest, I've never had a bountiful harvest because the birds get to them before I do. So I definitely need to protect them better in the future. But I wouldn't know what fruit tree I'll actually plant because I do enjoy plums. I don't eat a huge amount of plums. You can make jam, obviously, it's a great way of using up gluts, but I'm just not ready to plant a new tree yet. And if I was going to, I'd probably plant a new tree in the new home that I'm eventually going to move into in a garden. So yeah, I want to keep it sunny and bright over here. I don't want to interfere with this bed and what's going on underground. So we're going to plant something up it, which I'm really excited for. When I renovated this border to become the commemorative border that it is now, I did actually plant a jasmine to climb up it, which you can see here. But it has died, and I don't think the two are related, the tree dying and the clematis dying. I don't think it's something fungal in the soil. I think the plum tree just died of its own natural causes. When I first got the allotment, it wasn't very happy then. And I think the jasmine has died because, well, to be honest, I bought it quite established, and I don't think it was in full vigour when I bought it, but I just loved the idea of having something that was already quite big. And then also we had that really hot, stressful summer and quite a cold period of weeks in winter, and I don't think that this spot is sheltered enough for a jasmine because they like to be up against a nice sunny wall, somewhere really hot, dry, and sheltered from particularly sort of cold winds. So it's completely defoliated, and I'm pretty sure it is dead. So that is going to come out and we're going to replace it. So what climber have I chosen? Well, it's in this watering can just here, because it is in fact a bare root climbing rose, and I really treated myself because it's from David Austin roses. And if you don't know about David Austin roses, they are renowned for being the best of the best for roses, and obviously they breed their own and they've got a fantastic collection, and a lot of them are really resistant to diseases as well. So this one is a climbing rose that's called Woollerton Old Hall, and it's named after the manor house that's, I think, in Wales. I've never been, but I would really love to go. It's 16th century, so it's super old, and I've seen pictures of the gardens and they look absolutely beautiful, so I can only imagine that it would be a great place to go and visit. So this is what the rose is named after, and it was introduced into the David Austin collection in 2011, so it's still relatively new. But I love it because it's not a climber that gets really, really big. Obviously I've got quite a limited span here, and this one I believe grows to about 12 feet tall. So although it's a climber, it's still manageable and it's not going to be too much work to train. And in terms of the colour, well, this border around here has a pink and blue theme. My grandmother's favourite colour was blue, and I've already got a few roses in this border called Mary Rose, named, well, my grandmother was called Mary, so I bought them for her. And they are a soft pink colour, and everything in here, as I say, is soft pink and blue. And it used to be that all my dahlias and a lot of the flowers that I grow here are of a pink, soft pink cream colour. But my taste seems to be changing a little bit, and I'm leaning towards the more warmer oranges and creams. So if you're following my wedding flower series, you'll already know about my colour theme, and I think this is going to match quite well to my wedding colour flower theme, and also that orangey warm kind of colour that I'm now leaning more towards. But so I'm thinking that this is going to go with all of the new flowers that I grow, as well as the pinky old flowers that I grow, because I'm not going to change this border. And I think this is the perfect combination because it's not going to stick out like a sore thumb, and it'll work really well with the pinks, the creams, the oranges. So it's a really nice colour. It is actually described as a soft apricot or a cream. Some might say it's a soft sort of coffee colour, and I just think it's going to work and complement with so many things that I already grow. Now there is a tiny chance that it might be flowering when I get married later this year, and if it is, I mean, that would be amazing to use some of these flowers in my blooms and my bouquets, but I'm not going to, you know, put so much hope on that because, you know, it's its first year, it won't produce too many, and also my wedding is in early autumn, so it might not be producing that many anyway. But if it is, fantastic bonus. If not, never mind. I've heard that the flowers of this are absolutely enormous, and there's a chap on Instagram and YouTube what's his name? Let me just check. Ben Hamilton Anderson. If you look him up, he really knows his David Austin roses, and he reviews a lot of the different varieties, and he just really knows his stuff. And I saw his video, and the flowers really are massive, but he did say that it's quite a slow one to grow, so I do have a bit of a backup plan to fill this structure and that is going to be my Kobe scandens, which is the cup and saucer vine. I did grow it last year, but it didn't do that much because you have to start the seeds really early, and I was given the plant at a plant swap that I went to, and I think the person that grew them started them a little bit later, so I didn't really get many flowers, but it did grow well. So I have some growing at home, the Kobe scandens alba, so it's a white flower, really big bell shape, and I'm going to plant that with it, but I won't be planting that out until perhaps early to mid-May, once the risk of frost has gone. So that will romp away and hopefully give me loads of flower whilst the rose gradually does its thing, and I'll be able to take out the cup and saucer vine at the end of the season because it's only an annual, so the frost will kill it off and the rose can stay, and I'll be able to gradually train it up and along so we get maximum amount of flowers each year. The Williston Old Hall is said to be really disease resistant, which is going to be great because it means it's unlikely to get things like black spot and mildew. And as for the fragrance, well, this is one of the top flowers, or top roses for fragrance, because it's meant to be really strong and smell like myrrh. And I haven't actually smelt this rose before. Do let me know in the comments if you grow it or if you've smelt it before, because it's not something I'm familiar with, but I'm really looking forward to it, and especially because the blooms are absolutely enormous, and I can only imagine how it's going to look and smell once they're hanging down on me, dripping all that myrrh fragrance. It's going to be gorgeous. Time to now get it planted. I have had it soaking in water for about 24 hours now, so it's had a really good soak, rehydrate those roots, and now it's time to get it in the ground. So for this project we're going to need very little really, but we're going to need some organic farmyard manure. This stuff is well rotted and roses absolutely love manure, so we're going to put some of that in the planting hole. We're also going to be using some mycorrhizal fungi. This really gets the roots off to a fantastic start and is very beneficial for roses. And can't dig it into the hole without a spade, so I'm going to get the jasmine out first and then dig a nice big hole, probably about 45 centimetres in depth, because roses love a deep planting hole. There are a few other things in the ground in here that I don't want to disturb too much, like the peony down there. Take a nice big clump of dirt with it. There are a few little honesty plants on there that I might be able to save. Woo! Falling in the hole. Trying to be so careful not to tread on anything. So many nice plants down here. What on earth is that? Joys of allotment gardening. You never know what you're going to find in the soil. It sounds like metal, but I don't know what it is. The soil here is just as good as anywhere on my allotment. I'm really lucky. It's dark, it's loamy, and it retains the moisture really well. But because of those long tap roots on the roses, you really do need to dig quite deep. And also because we're going to put all that manure in the planting hole. Look how many roots we've got here from the tree. Surprisingly, not a lot. So maybe they've already started to rot down, which is good. That's probably one there. Now, just taking my rose out from the watering can, nice and hydrated. And you want to check that your rose is in good condition when you receive it. And if it's from David Austin, then you wouldn't really need to worry about that too much. But look, we can see we've got some nice shoots on here. They're going to go into growth very soon after we plant it. So it's a very strong, healthy specimen. Let's just check we've got the planting hole depth right. See, I need to go wider and deeper because I don't want to be making these stems, or roots even, bend in the planting hole. We don't want that. It needs to go straight down. It's been quite a long time since I've dug a hole this deep, but you can see how the roots sort of splay off to one side. You sometimes have to change your planting hole to work with that. So these stems are going to go in that direction and the roots will go like that. So that's plenty deep enough. And how deep do you want to plant your rose? Well, this section here needs to be below the surface of the soil by about 2 inches. So the soil level will probably come up to about here once we're done planting. Now, this is the stuff that roses absolutely love, well-rotted manure. We're going to put about 5 or 6 good sized handfuls into that planting hole. Just make sure it's well rotted, because if it isn't, it'll harm your plant. You can use a fork or a spade. I'm just going to loosen up any lumps in there and mix that manure with the soil. Just remember, you don't want to raise that level too high because we want those roots to go nice and deep. Now that the planting hole is enriched, we're going to pop some mycorrhizal fungi over the roots of the rose, and what this will do is it will increase the nutrient uptake, the water retention, and increase the blooms, and just generally give it a great helping hand to establish. Now, if you can't get hold of it, it's not essential, but it does help. So over the planting hole, I'm just going to put a few scoops over the roots so that anything that doesn't stick to it goes in that planting hole. Oh yeah, excuse the plastic down there. It's obviously gone in between the tree and I can't get that bit out. So now I'm going to position the rose so that the stems are at an angle towards the tree like that. And remember, we want the crown of the plant to be about 2 inches below the soil level. So that's going to go around here. And I'm just going to push some of these roots down into that soil a little bit because it's lovely and soft now we've got all that manure. Just give it a helping hand so they don't coil round. We want them to go down. And now it's just a case of backfilling it with all this lovely soil that we've just taken out. Now, once it's in, you're going to use your heel of your foot and firm it in so that it's nice, got nice contact with all the soil around it. Now, I have actually just removed one of these stems because it was actually crossing with the other stem, and then when 2 branches cross together, they rub, and then that can cause an open wound and infection and disease can get in. So I've had to take one of those away, but it should be absolutely fine now. And I'm just going to crumble over a little bit more of that well-rotted manure just as a little top dress and a good mulch. Now we just got to give her a really, really good, thorough, deep drink, and I'm probably going to put about 3 of these good-sized watering cans on it. And it's really important that over the next 6-8 months I'm giving this regular waterings, especially if we have a heat wave, because it needs those roots to establish and we want loads of flowers. And there she is, all planted in her final place. Rosa Woollerton Old Hall. So there we have it. My Rosa Woollerton Old Hall is now planted, and I can't wait to watch it slowly scramble up the back of this tree, and I'll be tying it in and training it as I go. And then once the Kobe Scandens is ready to be planted out, middle of May, that's going to go at the front and it'll find its way all up and along, and I'm hoping it really will fill out the entirety of this tree by the end of summer going into autumn, which is when we'll have those gorgeous white flowers as well. I'm really pleased with how it's gone, and I'm just so looking forward to seeing those Woollerton Old Rose blooms come out, no matter how many or how few I get this year. What do you think to my decision? I know a lot of you were hoping I was going to be planting a new tree today. I'm sorry if I've disappointed you, but I just could not part with this because it does bring a lot of character to my plot, and it's been here for, well, since the beginning. And I know the birds just love to perch on it. You know, the robins will often sit here and get things from the ground. And obviously they love to use the bird feeders as well. So I think if I had gone with a tree, I may have regretted my decision after I cut this down. And yeah, I'm just really pleased to have a new rose on my allotment. So yeah, do let me know what you think, and do subscribe if you haven't already. Please do check, because apparently only 30% of you watching have subscribed, which is kind of crazy really. But yes, do subscribe and you'll see how it looks when it blooms, because as soon as that first flower is about to open, don't worry, I'll do a video about it, because I'm sure you're as excited to see it bloom as I am. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me today. It's going to need a lot of water over the next few months, so I will be looking after it, and I'll show you in my monthly tours how well it's growing. Those birds are really soon going to burst out into growth, and yeah, really can't wait to see it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.